Passive voice is almost as bad as overusing adverbs. Welcome to episode 25 of Ascribe Scribbles. Today, I will cover passive and active voice to help you identify its use so that you can eliminate the passive and enjoy the active. Stick around. We're going to talk about that. To understand passive voice and active voice, you must start with the definition. And once again, I will pull out my pocket dictionary. Active voice is defined as a sentence that has a subject that acts upon the verb. Passive voice has a sentence where the verb acts upon the subject. All right, let me put the dictionary away. Most of us know the meaning of active and passive voice, but without practice, without writing constantly, it can be hard to tell if you've used the passive voice. So let me give you a couple of examples. Here is a sentence in passive voice. The acorns were collected by the squirrels. It's a true enough sentence, but as you can tell, collected as the verb and squirrel as the subject is being acted upon. So for active voice, we would say the squirrel collected the acorns. Now, in the second example, the subject is acting upon the verb. Passive voice also tends to use a preposition. In the case of our first example, the preposition was by. The acorns were collected by the squirrels. That's a very easy way to identify passive voice. Look for your prepositions and then read that sentence that your prepositions are in. So if you have a lot of paragraphs that talk about something happening by something else, rest assured that that's passive voice. Another easy way to tell is that passive voice is written in the past tense, or at least it uses the past participle. In our example, were collected. They're not actively being collected. They have already been collected. The acorns were collected by the squirrels. When it comes to our readers, I want you to understand that readers don't mind the passive voice. Readers also do not mind the active voice. You will find out, though, that readers tend to hate, and I don't mean just dislike, but hate, going back and forth between active and passive voice. So if you want to write in passive voice, that's fine, but stay there. If you want to write in active voice, stay there. And I'll tell you right now, active voice is always better. Active voice is more concise. It is direct. It leaves little confusion. Active voice can also be split up into two sentences where you would normally have one long passive voice sentence. Now, I might personally be the worst author when it comes to active and passive voice. And I often find myself going back and forth. And I know that the readers hate this, and I hate this. And I am getting better. But 90% of my stories are in the third person. We watch and we read what happened, not what is happening. When you read my stories, it has already happened. But I have to write it in a way that it's happening now. So we're not recalling the story, we are reliving it. And I try to keep that in mind. But for my narration, things always have happened. And this is especially true in dialogue. For example, I might say something like, Mike went to the store. He bought us grapes, Chuck said. And those are fine sentences in their own right. But now, as I've written those words, my mind switches over to the past tense mode, as I like to call it. I mean, thank the stars that I have wonderful beta readers and editors. They catch every adverb and every passive voice line. And they help me correct them, and I owe them probably my life. So when I write, the grapes Mike bought were enjoyed by Chuck and Dave, quickly becomes Chuck and Dave devoured the grapes Mike bought. Simple. And you would think that after all this time it would just be second nature to me, but apparently, as all writers have their quirk, this one is mine, and I still struggle with it. I don't let it get me down. I know that it will be fixed. And if you want better examples, Stephen King's On Writing. In that book, he gives a brief overview of passive voice. It's about a page and a half in the book. And he also explains why he thinks so many writers use passive voice. Now, I disagree with his thoughts, warranted as they may be. But he gives great advice. And if you haven't read the book yet, do so. Stephen King's On Writing should be one of the 3 primary books in your writer's library. If it's not, pick it up. Make it happen. The other one of the 3 is also a grammar book, The Elements of Style. That book is invaluable, has been for decades. It will continue to be. And in that one, they also recommend the active voice. They express the concern on brevity, removing unnecessary words, and pretty much all passive voice is unnecessary. We've split this grammar topic up now. This is the second week. We have another one next week, and I will discuss online grammar tools. Last week, we discussed adverbs and how to identify and remove them. And I don't really want to dawdle on about passive voice. I just want you to know that you're not alone. When you are writing, just write. Don't worry about how you're writing. And this is one of the big steps in my 5-draft method. Getting the words out on paper is the most important thing. So don't worry as you're writing, oh, Is that an adverb? I need to rewrite this sentence real quick. Oh, I just used passive voice. I need to rewrite this sentence real quick. Don't worry about that. There is a time and a place for all of that, and that is in the red pen editing, in the editing phases of the 5-draft method, in the editing phases of any method that you choose to use to write your stories. But when you're writing, just write. Passive voice can be edited. Or should I say, you can edit passive voice. Just keep in mind that the subject does something, not the subject lets something happen. If you can keep that in mind, your passive voice will slowly begin to stay quiet. I'm going to leave you with that. Be sure to check out the site extradraft.com. The blog posts are up, the podcast transcripts are up, and you can enjoy reading along. You can go back to any episode you like. They all have their own pages, and they all have comment sections. So if you have a comment on passive voice, on adverbs, or any other topic that we have covered in the last 26 weeks, feel free to drop a line, say hello, give us your experience, your expectations, and if there's something specific you want to talk about, let me know. When you go edit, knock out the passive voice, knock out your adverbs. Your writing will be stronger and your readers will thank you for it. And until next week, have fun and write words.